Thanks, listeners, for joining us for today's Elko Live here on KELK. We're going to get an update in local law enforcement news with our local Elko County Sheriff. We have Aitor Narvaiza joining us in studio. And, oh, great, you got your headphones back. All right, we got our sound back, I think. Perfect. At least it's kind of quiet in there. We've got our Sheriff, Aitor Narvaiza, alongside our City Police Chief, Trouten, as we're going to get caught up in local law enforcement news. And, gentlemen, we were just sitting here saying we're all kind of exhausted for various reasons. There's a lot going on right now. Yeah.
Well, I think, Lori, we've talked about before that there's no slow times anymore. Things just continue. These numerous changes in law, no matter how well intended over the years, are really starting to manifest in the results we're seeing on the streets. I just delivered our yearly report here. I think we talked about that last session and stuff, and talking about our crimes are trending down, but we still have a lot of crime going on, and some of them are pretty, I guess you'd say, notorious. They catch people's attention, murders, suicides, stabbings, and stuff. What's interesting is all these people that are involved in these things, we know them. We've sent them away before, and we just see them keep coming back. And as we just got done with the primary and, people elected, I think people really need to take the politicians up on their offerings. Watch our record. Look at our record. I think that's critical. Boy, if I had one wish, I think I would ask people, quit playing on Facebook, spend half that time, and get involved in watching your legislators, talking to your legislators, sending letters to your legislators. They need to hear these things. People like to complain and, voice their opinions and stuff, which absolutely entitled to, and I'm not saying they're off base, but doing it on Facebook does nothing.
That is a closed loop. You're right.
Yeah, they sit there and they all agree, but it goes no further.
So talking with our chief, obviously, that's one of our topics today because our local law enforcement, including Sheriff Aitor Narvaiza, they're involved in helping draft some legislation, which we hope could, enact some significant change if it's approved. And Sheriff, we were just talking with our Chief Trouten about the serious crime, wondering, we've asked the question, your Lieutenant Rick Moore researched this and said, statistically, Elko is not unsafe. As compared to the last 5 years, we've had a murder-suicide, murder at a motel, stabbing at a motel, all just this year, and two of those crimes were within the same neighborhood, in the same area, required a SWAT team call out. Sheriff, we know that just talking to you, apparently there's a couple of feuding families in an area of Elko County, West Bullion, I think you said, and
we had
they're firing shots at each other.
We had a neighborly dispute just 2 weeks ago. Two neighbors were in a disagreement, and one neighbor drove by and fired at the residents, and then the other people in the whole north fought back, and they fired back, and we took one into custody. And then that same day, we had the one on I-80. The guy was upset because the vehicle failed to yield. And
road rage.
Road rage. Pulled the gun out and shot at a vehicle. And the deputy stopped the vehicle, and the gun was stolen, and everybody went to jail. But it's just been crazy the last, we've been busy, and the PD's just been extremely busy. We've been helping them with whatever we can, but it's been pretty busy.
And Sheriff and Chief, this is how innocent people get hurt. They get caught up in this kind of nonsense, and how our law enforcement puts themselves in harm's way every day.
Well, and that's...
it's crazy the way it happens. You get in a neighborhood, two neighbors arguing, and a gun comes out, and
including an AR.
Somebody loses their life over a dispute. It's crazy. But
or an innocent neighbor, bystander,
you
somebody walking a dog.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's but we see it. Chief Trout and I see it all the time.
I'm short of sleep, so I'm going to apologize to you and to the public if I'm.
You've been back and forth to Carson, to Post, and yes.
So if I'm overly blunt today, my apologies in advance. But I cannot think of how many times since I've been in a position to put out public, service announcements, different things, and how many times have we had the discussion and shared with the public? Simple things: locking your cars, remove your valuables, don't leave guns in cars. Certainly don't leave guns in unlocked cars. And we've had a rash of them. We've had a couple search warrants we've served this week, recovery of several stolen firearms. We actually had an individual trying to argue with us that this is Elko and it's safe and I don't have to lock my car as they are reporting missing guns. I look at these things here of the crimes we've had, our stabbing, which included other, weapons being used. None of them are firearms. None of those people should be even close to having firearms. Other crimes that we've had, some of these big cases here recently, they shouldn't have firearms. The laws we have are not doing what are intended. And this is what just always gets me. Criminals, by their very definition, don't abide by laws. We are in a period right now where there is more concern about the offender than there is about holding them accountable. As long as that occurs, these offenders are going to be right back out on our streets quickly. We've talked about the changes in, bail. They don't stay in jail like they used to. They're right back out. We've talked about the sentences that come down on them. Nowhere near as long nor severe as they used to be. And, nobody, neither of us and none of our folks certainly want to see innocent people get hurt or anything like that. But I don't know what it's going to take to get the public to wake up. Why don't they get involved? Why aren't they screaming at their legislators? You are hurting us. We see that in big cities where the neighborhoods, they're trying to pull cops out and they're screaming at them. Don't do that. We need the cops. We need protection. You're leaving us to the wolves. Yet here in this state, it's just business as usual. And then people, like I said, want to vent on Facebook, and that amounts to nothing.
Well, and we actually, there are so many trolls on Facebook, too, that they're there to just antagonize people, and who knows, there are even political trolls, especially this time of year. So what we want to know, Chief Trouten, is that you are working on legislation. John Ellison talked about this. He is the Senate-elect apparent. He has no opposition come November. So he's talked about he's already working on a bill draft. And he mentioned you in particular. And he also said, Aitor, Sheriff Narvaiza, that you're working on something as well. Would you mind telling us about the bill you're working on in particular?
Well, I'm not the brightest person ever. So it's an idea. It's something that we used to have on the books here, very similar to it. We used to have law that would allow, if a person was arrested on a felony and they were able to bail out and they committed another felony, they were revoked and put back in jail awaiting trial. And there they sat until they went to trial. We need something like that because we see these folks, and this plays into some of the comments I see today on a post, but they go to jail on a felony. They're released sometimes without even bail or a minimal bail. They're back out on the street. They commit another crime. On a felony. Mm-hmm. They commit another felony. Process is repeated. By the time they go to trial, they can have multiple felonies stacked up.
Their jackets grow. And that's what's impacting the district attorney's office, too.
Absolutely. So now we're tying up. Each of those cases requires another attorney's amount of time, judge's time, juror's time, all these things, and it just overloads the system. And contrary to the claims, I don't see how this helps the offender in any way either. Because now where they might have been interrupted from committing these crimes,
there's no cooling off.
Their jacket's going to be infinitely thicker, and it doesn't solve anything. Somebody made the comment, Elko makes money off of drugs. I'm like, excuse me? These drug crimes drive most of our crimes, not just, possession of drugs or
Ask
sales.
any judge.
Yeah, we're talking about the physical violence. We're talking about child abuse, child neglect, theft. Most of our property crime, it's all tied to drugs. And yet we've had a legislature the last few years that just seems to think that drugs don't, we don't have to worry about punishing drugs. It's not a big deal.
Well, and that's why, these are all good topics going forward as we get closer to the legislative session, but we may not see the number of DUIs we have had in the past, but we certainly see the number of arrests for impaired drivers, and that is directly related to the use of marijuana, which is legal, which people still don't have the idea that being under the influence of marijuana is the same as being drunk. You cannot drive.
Well, you still get arrested just the same as you were drinking. It's still possession of a controlled substance.
It's just harder to prove, but the damage you do.
Well, the damage is
the same, if not worse.
But, it's just a different field sobriety test than a standard field sobriety test, And so it's still against the law whether you smoke marijuana or not. If you're smoking and you're driving, eventually you're going to get caught. And there's different things that we look at when we With the alcohol, of course, you're going to smell it. You're going to have faster signs. And with the marijuana, you're going to be looking at the tongue color, the rebounding of the eyes, and while you're talking to them, their speech and how they're acting. So the symptoms are still there. So DUI is DUI, whether you do it alcohol or drugs. It's still the same.
So, Sheriff, we want to make sure you have a chance to talk about John Ellison talked about legislation that you're probably working on as well.
I just John and I met a couple times, and I'm just not a big fan of this whole immigration process. The sheriffs and chiefs are all trying to get a hold of this nationwide, and
do we have a problem in Elko County?
no, not to my knowledge. I've never seen like busloads of immigrants or anything like that. But you go nationwide, and what's going on in California, Texas, and immigration is a big thing. We're pretty fortunate where we live here in this community. We don't have the issues that other states do. But I've talked to John about some immigration reform. There's some stuff in the legislature that some of the local sheriffs are coming up with, and there was an issue here. It was last year. Post was trying to bring up where you didn't have to be a U.S. citizen to go to post to be a police officer. All that kind of stuff. And we need to put a stop to that. If you're going to be here working, you're going to have to be a U.S. citizen. If you want to be in law enforcement, you have to be a U.S. citizen.
Sheriff, you are the grandson of immigrants.
Yes, ma'am, I am. My dad came over here. I immigrated here when I was 8 years old. I was never given anything. My family was never given anything. They worked hard, and with their help, here we are. But it's got to be done the right way.
I'm going to disagree a little bit with the sheriff. We talk about immigration isn't a problem here. I believe it is, and I'm not talking about people busloads being dropped off and stuff. But we know that the cartels, the drug trafficking organizations, are heavily involved with pushing people across the borders, making them mules, carrying the drugs, human trafficking. We also know that terrorism is an issue, and people are coming across there, and we don't know because how do you track somebody, and unfortunately there's even a push by the Attorney General's office right now to restrict what law enforcement can even do when they come across somebody who is here illegally and has warrants for their arrest, or we arrest them and we can't even let the feds know about them. What if we find one of these terrorists? That's another committee we're trying to work on here and push back from the sheriffs and chiefs of the state. But all these things are tied together. Understand, criminals don't go, I'm going to be a burglar, but I wouldn't do these other things. They're all intertwined and interwrapped. And immigration right now is one of those crimes. I have nothing against people immigrating here. I will guarantee you that if I had found myself in circumstances where you can't support your family or eke out a living or it's dangerous, it would be expected. You're going to try to do what you can for your family. There is a process for that. Rushing the border, in thousands and tens of thousands is not that answer. And as a country, we should not have to take that or put up with that. It is going to cause significant issues here for the state. But like I said, unfortunately, there's this push that we're just going to ignore laws and minimize the penalties for laws and not hold people accountable across the board. And somehow we think that our quality of life and our safety in our homes and in our communities is not going to be affected.
They're trying to pass legislation, like Ty was saying, where if a illegal immigrant is arrested and he's here undocumented, whatever you want to call it, illegal, undocumented, they don't even want us to contact ICE. And I'm sorry, but if you're sitting in the county jail and I get a call from ICE and they're looking for so-and-so, I'm going to say, yeah, he's right here, come get him. Right? I'm not going to say, no, you can't get him. I'm going to give him right to you and you can deport him and do whatever you need to, but we're going to work with the feds.
I think the last time, unless, obviously, Sheriff, you would know, the last time someone was deported from Elko County was a murder suspect, right? I mean, didn't he behead his girlfriend? It was a terrible homicide.
It was done. The subject was, we arrested him here.
Right.
But we arrested him, he killed the guy in Jackpot.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. This is the one in Rendon here a couple of years ago. He killed his girlfriend, beheaded her, and took the body, buried it up north. He lived in Idaho. We picked him up, arrested him.
And then he was deported, though,
Yes.
eventually. So
He'll do his time then. Yeah.
Yeah, but do we have? I mean, does ICE come regularly? We just don't hear about that.
So I don't think you see ICE, stopping by. Hey, who do you have? And there's this misunderstanding. People think that we had arrested somebody for a DUI and they're an illegal immigrant. Ship them across. It doesn't work that way. Even when they are picked up, they're taken to a regional center. I think Twin Falls is ours. Reno now. And they're given a date. You need to appear on this date and time to appear before the judge. And they're released and they don't show up. It's a joke. What we're talking about is we should be able to hold these people and get rid of them. Under the Attorney General's proposal, you cannot use any official resources, including your time, including your records, including the phone sitting on your desk, to contact the federal agencies to notify them of somebody who maybe beheaded his girlfriend. How does that make any sense in a rational world? The federal government has been tasked with the responsibility of protecting overall, which includes our borders. They're the entity to do that. That'd be like saying, well, we got word that the terrorists are about to fly a plane into another building, but we don't want you contacting the feds. The lesson we learned from 9/11 is that interagency cooperation, not just between federal agencies, but federal and state and local and everybody together. We've talked about how many times together over the years. The things we work on and cooperate together make us stronger and serve our community better. It's why we do it. And yet on the political side, we have this push of not wanting to cooperate on things. Again, I'm short of patience today, but wake up, public. This is happening right now, and nobody is caring. And I'm like, if you don't start caring pretty quick, you'll care significantly when you were hurting significantly, and it'll be everybody hurting. And at that time, it's probably too late.
Elko Police Chief Tyler Trouten, again, he's on a few days of not enough sleep and a lot of work and a lot of stress. And it happens to everybody. It is true. And I think it's a good example of how stressed a lot of people are feeling right now. And Sheriff, I know you wanted to maybe comment on that. So we don't see ICE coming in a lot, I guess. I just wanted to make sure we wrapped up that conversation.
I've never seen like
immigration,
customs,
or ICE,
come here in a bus or pick anybody up.
And so again, we're just not on the radar for that.
No, we've hauled them. If an immigrant does commit a crime, an illegal alien, we take them to Reno. They do whatever they do, and then
they process them, and then
them. I'll tell you, a while back we took one, and by the time we dropped him off, and then we did some run around, and then we were at a light, and this guy pounding on our window was the guy that we took up there.
And he wanted to ride back?
He wanted to ride back to Elko, and it was like, we just released him.
Wow, okay.
A couple hours ago.
Yeah, so
they process them, and
then
that's it.
Talking about, okay. Well, we like to talk about the local concerns that we have here, and again, not to dismiss what you're saying, Chief or Sheriff, about the impacts of immigration. But if there were a direct correlation to our local community with some crime, I mean, we do have the drug interdiction that goes on, but we don't hear a lot about those activities. So it could be that there are, as you said, illegals bringing in drugs, but we're just not aware of it as a community.
I think the community does not want to admit it.
Well, I mean, I would report on it if we knew about it, but I'm just being honest.
So I will tell you that from when I started to now, it used to be that, and we've talked about this, the drug trade here was disorganized. Whoever had the means went and picked up drugs, brought them in, sold them. The next week they might not have anything, and they're trying to buy drugs. It is not disorganized anymore.
And that's why we had the big bust out at Osino, and there was cockfighting, and there was
multiple large arrests out there over the years. This is organized. Clear back to when I was working narcotics, so 03 to 06, at one of the local hotels here. This female is being prostituted, pimped out. She is a human trafficking victim from not from this country. We hit the place because we had reports of drug dealing. That's my one interaction with ICE, and of course this was post 9/11. He's threatening her in Spanish right there in front of us because she talked with us. And so in order to protect her, and hey, she's a trafficking victim, by the way, we call. And that was my one experience. They picked him up, ran him up to Twin, and he was gone. He never showed up for his court dates.
Well, let's hope that victim got helped. I mean, that's...
Who knows? You know, I mean, did he track her down? I mean, we've had quite a few murders that, you know, like I said, I think if the public's paying attention and looking at our community and stuff, take the blinders off. It's not 1986. It's not the best small town in America. It's like every other town in America. The drugs are destroying this community.
And the best thing that people can do is continue to report it, and as you said, support legislation.
Yeah, you know, meeting with John Ellison, I don't know specifically addressed your question, but talking about, look, we need to gain some of these laws back. That needs to be a push. I'm under no illusions that they're going to, you know, go back like they were 20 years ago, but we have to have the means to protect the people. And what concerns me is our community is pretty good on this. They're astute. They know the law enforcement, the sheriff's office, the Elko Police Department. We're out doing our things. They know that Tyler Ingram is prosecuting these cases. They don't understand that the judges are doing what they can. They're limited by the laws imposed by the legislature. So we need, you know, Assemblyman Gurr, we need Senator Ellison. Sorry, I am tired. We need our representatives fighting for this. Well, the more people are yelling and screaming in their ear and sending them letters and saying, you have got to get this changed, the better chance we have of doing that. And then hold them accountable if they're not doing those changes. And this goes out across the state. If you have people who are truly not doing things that make a positive difference for you, why would you keep them? If they were your employee, you'd terminate them for failure to perform. That's what needs to happen to our elected officials as well. And that's state and federal levels. If they're not performing, get rid of them.
All right, talking with Chief Tyler Trouten, and again, hoping that we can, you know, inspire people to, first of all, be aware that this is happening. We did want to, I have reported on, I interviewed Lieutenant Moore. He said Elko is not becoming more violent, it's just more prevalent. We're reporting on it. We've had these terrible violent crimes, including murder, suicide, murder at the motel, stabbing at the motel, which was not fatal. We don't know the condition of the victim. He was flown out, but those are very serious crimes. And so, but Elko is still overall safe, according to the statistics.
If they pull up the past year's reports and stuff, we generally have 5 to 6 murders or homicides a year. It's not abnormal, but again, some of them are more newsworthy, I guess would be the term. They catch people's attention.
Or the timing, like these are all pretty close. So, Sheriff, if you don't mind, we do want to talk a bit about domestic violence, because we know with the Silver State Stampede, a lot of folks are going to be wearing purple. There's a beautiful belt buckle that's going to be raffled off to benefit our local committee against domestic violence. We appreciate Under Sheriff Justin Ames. He serves on that committee, as we do our Lieutenant Pepper, who is also on that committee on behalf of the police department. You've noted a decline in domestic violence in the county in a couple of years. So we're hoping that things like this campaign are working. You stand up, you say more, you do more. You don't allow it. You don't allow demeaning conversations, physical violence. Certainly that's obvious. But we're also just reminding the community, and especially certain demographics, that it's not cool at all to be abusive toward a significant other.
It is not cool, like you said, to beat a female.
Well,
or
even
male.
I was thinking the emotional abuse, but the physical abuse.
Abuse is just the same as physical abuse, you know. And this Man Up crusade in the Dale with CADV.
That's a lethality assessment.
Yeah. You know, we have Justin and the PD and the sheriff's office. Everybody's on that deal, and they're making them more aware. You have the Man Up crusade that was started by a sheriff in Idaho. And we've been running with it this will be our 3rd year that we've done it at the rodeo.
And now Reno Rodeo's doing it.
Yes, Reno Rodeo just started, and I think Fallon's getting ready to start talking to Sheriff Heckhock, and so it just brings more awareness to domestic violence. I believe, talking to Justin here a couple of weeks ago, our domestic violence has dropped almost 30% in the last couple of years, and as of yesterday. I had some more numbers yesterday, and we're actually tracking down again. So hopefully this Dale and the Man Up Crusade and domestic violence awareness and getting CADV more involved in the community and the people have really come down and helped us quite a bit.
So we want to explain the lethality assessment is something that a victim fills out in the presence of advocates or others who are there to comfort them, to calm them, to bring them some peace and hopefully some vision about the situation they're living in. And what it emphasizes is if they are living in a situation that could lead to the death
Right.
of themselves, their children, their loved ones.
Yeah, they help them out with whatever means. We've had a couple deaths over domestic violence over the last few years. And their assessments, their danger assessments, and
And it's a wake-up call, isn't it?
it is. It gets these men, and it's not just women involved in domestic violence. It's a two-way street. Men get abused just the same.
They can be shot and they can be
Right.
stabbed.
And,
Yes.
So there are dangerous assessments, and with those assessments and making people more aware of domestic violence, and hopefully it starts coming down, people get more safe, and they realize the danger that they're living in, and they get out.
We do want to also, again, though, going back to legislation, there could be an artificial driver for this. And we just talked about it briefly before we went on the air, Chief, and I didn't get a chance to research it. Not that I don't believe what you're both talking about, but the way that people are being arrested might actually be influencing domestic violence numbers.
Well, both on the arrest and the conviction, I think people always see numbers and want to say it's apples to apples to apples year after year, and it's not that way. It changes. We've seen significant changes on domestic violence prosecutions. First, you had to have a jury trial. That was 6. Now it's 12. Now it's legal, where it used to be strictly prohibited by codified NRS law. You cannot plead a domestic battery down to a battery. Well, now you can. So I think there's changes. There's a multitude of factors to just say, hey, these things are making a significant difference. I think they make a difference, but how do you show? I mean, we've had a domestic violence systems advocate to, stay in contact with victims, try to reach out, get them to, get restraining orders or, provide the information of how to and what to and all these things to get them into shelter to, whatever is needed. I think that is significant. And that happens not just on, necessarily physical domestics situations, but also just some of the verbal ones, because sometimes they haven't quite got to be physical yet when we're called and intervene on things. I do not believe that our society is learning to control its emotions better than it used to, or people are just recognizing that that's unacceptable and walking away from it. I do think we are probably providing the best services for our victims that this area ever has been able to provide. But yeah, I think there's other factors at play in these things.
Well, and Chief, we have to be honest in that now that we have put juries in the driver's seat, we have seen some really significant decisions come in that were just wrong. That the peers would find it's okay to sexually assault a woman who's unconscious, and video shows it. I mean,
Well,
this is wrong.
And in line with domestic battery, juries, they go, well, yeah, she had injuries and she was bleeding, but, well, that's not domestic battery. I don't understand the rationale. Of course, I'm not privy to the conversations they have in the jury room.
That
Go ahead,
sexual assault
Sheriff.
you were mentioning, there's video of him literally picking her off the motel floor.
Right.
And,
So again, we've made a
when
mistake.
you drag an unconscious woman into a bedroom and have sex with her or sexually assault her, and then the jury finds her not guilty, you're like, okay, where did we go wrong? What happened?
Right. We've made a mistake. We've
Some-
made a
something
terrible
happened,
mistake
right? And,
as a community.
Well, and again, I'm short of patience today, so the public likes to criticize things, and sometimes I'd say you might want to look at yourselves. You are the public. You are the people who are making these decisions as juries and letting these people walk.
So all the jokes you perpetuate, all the memes, all the things that
Everything that plays into it, or we just had I think the first ever recognition of Denim Day. Well, the female was wearing tight denim jeans, so she was asking to be sexually assaulted. I cannot believe in 2024 there's still that thought process that it exists in the world. But as I understand it, that's our juries. We used to love our juries here because they were very rational, common sense, clear, solid juries. And something has changed, and I don't know what. And again, I'm not trying to predict doom ahead for us and stuff, but I don't know what the solution is going to be, and I don't see anything getting better.
this pendulum has swung too far. So going back to the laws that we had and that it was left up to a judge to decide, frankly, because the judges are elected too. So
Well, and it kind of is implied in the name of their position.
Exactly.
You know, allow them to be the individual judge of what this person needs, what will best serve, the community. That's first and foremost. And secondly, what would best serve that offender as well. I've said numerous times, I'm all for helping an offender if they're willing to put their own skin in the game and work to help themselves. But for the people who are committed to committing crime, why should we be more considerate about their own welfare than they are of it?
Go ahead, Sheriff. I want to make sure you...
Chief Trouten is right. You see it at the jail. You can see, I can tell you for a fact, we had one individual here a while back that was arrested 3 times in 4 days on burglaries, and every time he saw the judge, he was released. And that one day, within 8-9 hours after he was released, he was arrested again on another burglary. Well, the 3rd day, he never got out, and then he got out, and then he committed another. So in 4 days, he committed 3 burglaries. Why is this guy given so many opportunities to go out and commit crimes, like Ty said?
It's not the judge, it's the law.
It's the law. But now you got the DA got this guy on one felony burglary, and now they got to charge him with another one, and they got to charge him with another one, and it's and and I get the validity minute hearings and stuff, but it's the system just every time we get ahead, it just beats us down a little bit more. We got to work that much more harder to get a conviction.
Well, this is ending up to be a very sad show here.
It's not sad. You know what, Lori, we still got a great community here.
Oh,
we
thanks,
still do.
Aitor.
It's
Yeah.
got good people.
We do.
We're still pretty fortunate from what you see, what's going on in this nation. We're still way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I would concur with that. We have a lot of good things about this community, and again, reassure the public, it's not worse than it is. If anybody doubts that, I can suggest some areas of other cities. Yep, let's go down and take a tour, and you can see what it really looks like. But maybe to bring it around on a positive note, we're just over a month away from National Night Out.
Yeah.
So that will be coming up. We will have a new attraction this year. Many are probably aware we've been working with federal grant because they're expensive, and we didn't want to, put another tax out on our citizens. But we have a new armored truck vehicle. We had to do that because our current president prohibits us from using the MRAP, which we've used for years. So we will be taking possession of that here within the next few days, and that will be on display at National Night Out. So we'd like to invite the public to come down, look at it, check it out, see. It's not a tank, it's an armored truck. But be able to crawl around at it, look at it, and we can show off the features and different things. So.
And then we can talk about why it's needed, because that's the other thing.
We got a lot of good things. We got the
Yeah.
Memorial Fair this weekend.
Yes.
We'll be out there working, and we got the Stampede coming up. That's a kick. That's just a good 3-day event. And then you got the fair.
Yeah,
and
4th of July.
So we got a lot of good stuff coming in, so just.
You come up to the campus of the college
right,
tonight
yeah.
for Beats and Bites, the
That's
food
right,
trucks, and
yeah.
live music at 5 o'clock. And
So
I know I'm leaving something
we got
out.
a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
but,
farmers
we got a lot
market
We got a lot
Saturday.
of positive stuff going
Yes.
on, and it's so just keep your head up, and we're doing good.
Yeah, and just remember, too, that there are a lot of people with very diverse views, and there are many, many more moderate views in this community and county than are often expressed on a wide level. So a lot of people find so much common ground. I mean, so nothing that we talked about today can be resolved by politics, but can certainly be involved by people, and resolved by people caring and working together. So,
Well,
and
honestly,
common sense.
I think the absence of politics is the solution.
Right. Well, keep out of our healthcare, out of our education, out of law enforcement. I mean, this is just, it's gotten to be, it's so crazy the way that we're sitting with these laws. So
Yeah, you look
to hear you explain them.
Yeah, you look at the stuff that's going on in New York, L.A., on the suburbs and stuff, and you're like, that's just crazy.
It's too complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, and here we got some crime that happens every, but we still
figure out those
we still rock.
drive-bys.
We still got a good community. I'm telling you, we're still solid.
We rock. Okay.
We do. I really think we do. I mean, it is what it is. We're still a very good community.
Sheriff Aitor Narvaiza, that's a good place. And I hope Police Chief Ty Trouten, you get some rest. I hope tomorrow's not so busy for you. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, if the public is interested in that and they would like to help, one of the things, please be careful driving out there. We've had some bad accidents as well.
Oh my gosh, what happened with that motorcyclist? Do we know?
We heard the news is presumably positive. Not just no loss of life, but potentially some chance of full healing. So
Okay. That
but
was on
again,
Mountain City Highway.
That was on Mountain City there near Aspen, or down there by Terminal Way. But please, folks, it's summer. People are out enjoying it. Slow down, look, be careful. Please,
Yeah,
please,
Mountain
please.
City Highway is 35 miles an hour, and it actually should probably be dialed back because people are going 45 and 50. It's crazy out there.
Yeah.
I
well,
mean-
again, state route they control, but that area in the last decade has had significant growth of businesses all the way around through
yeah.
Silver, and it's like it probably does need to get necked down because we just have a lot of accidents there. I think we had 7 accidents the other day in one shift in the city. That's too many.
That is way too many. Well, people are even driving too fast on Idaho. And again, with all the stuff that's going on, it's really hard to do traffic control. So, and don't, try not to get road rage. I'm one of those people I get mad. I can't believe you just did that. But
Yeah, but you get mad. You
Yeah.
don't take your gun out and
No,
shoot at
God.
the guy car next to you.
no,
It's,
no.
Come on, have some common sense. It's like.
Well, yeah.
But no, we're doing good. We really appreciate you having us, Lori.
Thank you.
Chief's tired, and we've had some long days. Phone rings 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's hard to get back to sleep. Got a lot of stuff going on, and we have bad days too, just like everybody else. So but we'll get through it.
Yeah, and love to your families too.
Yeah, we got great families.
Yeah, you do. You have
so
great families, both of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you,
We'll
Lori.
get through it.
Yeah,
We'll
we
get
will. And thank you, listeners, for joining us here on Elko Live today. So I think sometimes we forget we're on the radio. So thank you. And
Lori.
yes, have a great day.